Greetings, my friends. We are all interested in the Plan 9x9 podcast, for that is where you and I are going to spend the next hour of our lives. And remember, my friends, podcasts such as these are made possible by listeners like these. Judy Thurman, Daniel Cornell, Chris Garner, and it would be a crime if we did not mention Charles Babbage. Let us punish the guilty. Let us reward the innocent. My friends, can your hearts stand the Plan 9x9 podcast?
For the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened.
What plan will you follow now?
Plan 9. It's been absolutely impossible to work through these Earth creatures. Their soul is too controlled.
Why do I always get hooked up with these spook details? Monsters, graves, bodies.
Oh, all right.
Well, it was covered up by the higher echelon.
I am a soldier of our planet. We did not come here as enemies. We came only with friendly intentions, to talk, to ask your aid for the whole universe. But your governments of Earth refused even to accept our existence.
Flying saucers, Captain, are still a rumor.
Now toddle off and fly your flying machine, darling. But if you see any more flying saucers, will you tell them to pick another house to buzz?
Minutes later, the police arrived at the scene.
Who found them?
The man and girl. The morgue wagon ought to be along most any time.
You get their statement?
Yeah, they're pretty scared.
Finding a mess like this ought to make anyone frightened.
You believe there are such things as flying saucers, Colonel?
Tell you one thing, if a little green man pops out of me, I'm shooting first and asking questions later.
You realize there's a government directive stating that there is no such thing as a flying saucer. You're a headstrong young man.
Those incidents in the graveyard these past few days just got me worried.
Don't like hearing noises, especially when there ain't supposed to be any. Yeah, sort of spooky-like.
Shall we talk now or wait?
Go ahead, my friend.
We're nearing the end of this Plan 9 from Outer Space extravaganza. We are getting close to the final credits. But first, there's a big, very important chunk of the movie we have to talk about first. I'm Derek M. Cook, and I'm joined by my co-host, the always reliable Scott Morris. How you doing, man?
Hey, to quote Styx, don't let it end. I've been having so much fun with this. This has been a blast going through these. And yeah, we do have one major plot point to really hit hard here, and I can't wait to talk about it. And we've brought along someone else to join us. Do you want to introduce your Portland pal?
Sure. We are talking with the man who knows everything about all the horror events happening in the Pacific Northwest. We are talking about the man behind the shadow over Portland, Chris McMillan. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Great.
Doing good. I found something out doing some research for this 8 minutes of Plan 9. I need someone in my area of the country doing the shadow over whatever, because I never knew that there is something called B-Fest in Chicago.
B-Fest?
Yes, 24 hours of B movies. And they always show Plan 9 from Outer Space at midnight. And it has started to form sort of a Rocky Horror Picture type of following.
They do it like a shadow cast?
Well, they have different things that they say. They're supposed to yell like bang every time somebody shows poor firearm usage in the film. Every time that there's a day for night, they're supposed to yell like what it's supposed to be, like day or night or whatever.
Oh, my. Oh, so it's like the audience participation thing.
Yes.
Great. That is awesome.
And it's called B-Fest.
It's called B-Fest, and it's in January, so unfortunately I missed it, but it's up at Northwestern, not too far from here. And just to give you a taste, this was their schedule this past January. Food of the Gods, The Hypnotic Eye.
Oh, yeah.
Get Crazy from 83. The Creeping Terror.
Oh,
The Wizard,
yes.
The Wizard of Speed and Time from 1989.
Wow.
Plan 9 from Outer Space. Truth or Dare, A Critical Madness.
Oh.
Showgirls.
Oh, God.
Street Fighter. The Manster.
The Manster?
Yep. Howard the Duck.
God.
The Island of Dr. Moreau, the 96 version. Nothing But Trouble from 91. Listomania from 75 and Army of Darkness from 92.
Oh, wow. What a capper. The Manster and Food of the Gods on the big screen?
Yep.
Oh, why wasn't I there?
I'm less than 2 hours from this and didn't know about it till now. So I'm sad that I didn't see this.
I don't know how I'd stay up 24 hours, but I'd find a way.
I hope they have plenty of Mountain Dew. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you can find out about this at b-fest.com.
Yep.
It looks like they also have a Facebook page, but wow. That seems like it could be a lot of fun or
a lot of pain.
Right on. Well, that's so cool. If people are in the area, go check it out next year.
I've already signed up to follow their Facebook group, so I'll be notified next year.
That is an amazing lineup of films, though.
Yes,
wow.
That would have been a lot of fun.
See, you say amazing, but really, I mean, come on.
I mean amazing. Come on.
Now, I will admit, I saw it in the theater when Nothing But Trouble came out, but amazing? Really?
The Manster?
Well, okay, there's that. Yeah, see, I would come and go. It'd be like, okay, I'll save for the Manster. I'll go get a cup of coffee down the street for Nothing But Trouble, because, I'm good.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. I know, isn't that the Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, who else
Chevy
was
Chase.
in it? Chevy Chase and John Candy, I think?
Yes, and the first film appearance, his first role on screen, Tupac Shakur. Tupac makes his film debut in that. At the time, he was tooling around with the band Digital Underground, which was one of my favorite rap groups. So that's why I went to go see it in the theater, because I knew they were in it.
Ah.
They were the band that was in a Burger King restroom, wasn't it?
In a Burger King restroom?
Yes, that was Humpty Hump doing... Yeah.
Getting busy.
That was them.
That was them.
Okay.
One's got busy in a Burger King bathroom. Yes. Okay. We probably shouldn't quote any more of the song The Humpty Dance because we don't have the rights for that. It is not in the public domain, unlike Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's a segue.
Nice way to bring it back.
There we go. So talking of Plan 9 from Outer Space, obviously it's got fans all over. It is continuing to be, I guess, relevant with the B-Fest and everything else going on. Chris, we want to know two things. First, when did you first see Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago, honestly.
Really?
You know how I've talked with you about how hard it is to have seen movies on TV here in Portland. They just didn't really have a good selection. But I finally, about 20 years ago, got a, Mill Creek pack thing. And it's like, oh, Plan 9. I have never seen that. I have to watch this. And that's the first time I saw it, and I just sat there, and I'm like, they're saying this is the worst movie ever made? Have they not seen some of the other stuff I've seen?
Okay.
It captivated me. And then, of course, I had to go see Bride of the Monster, Bride of the Atom, whatever. And that was just like, wow, this is actually not bad. I mean, it's not great, but, still. So I started getting a really appreciation of Ed Wood's earlier works. The stuff he does isn't that bad. I will stand by that.
Fair enough. And then, Scott, do you want to ask him the other question
Yes.
we're asking everybody?
We're asking everybody that's come on the show, and we haven't been giving them any heads up or anything because we want your initial reaction to this question.
Okay.
What do you think one of the first 8 plans were that the aliens had?
Oh, flooding. They were going to flood the rivers of all the countries in the world and drown everyone.
Okay.
I'm glad you followed that up because at first I heard blooding. I'm like, what is a blooding? I don't know.
I heard the same thing. I thought they were going to put leeches on everybody or something.
There you go. That's a good one.
That's a different public domain movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, they were going to flood the country, flood the nations of the world.
Okay. Well, when we get up to the next episode, which now, since this is the penultimate episode, Derek and I are going to reveal what we think one of the first 8 plans were. So we're cheating. We have a little more time to think about it.
Oh, Jeez.
Well, we want to make it a surprise. So, Scott, don't tell anybody that we're going to ask ourselves this, okay?
But
whoops, I won't say a word.
Yeah, we don't know what each other's ideas are. So that'll be a surprise to us.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
But we've been asking everybody that's come on here what they think one of the first 8 plans were.
And nobody said flooding yet.
Nope, that's a new one.
Sweet.
Well, we are recording these out of order, so technically somebody could say flooding.
Well, okay. But I was going to ask, what are some of the other ones? But I'll just have to listen to the podcast.
That's right. That's how we make sure people listen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So no spoilers. No spoilers.
So we are nearing the end of the film. And Chris, I know that you love this moment of the movie. And I actually really dig it, too, because so many things are explained kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Well, as explained as movie science will allow it to be explained.
Take this can of gasoline. What? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway.
Actually, it kind of does, but we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Okay. We've got pretty much everybody that is in the movie in this sequence. I think Lugosi's character has already been...
Yeah, he's already... he's a pile of bones on the pilot's lawn.
Yeah, sure. Which gets referenced in this section.
Next, you'll tell me you saw skeletons.
We did, earlier.
Now I know you're off your rocker.
Our section starts as our heroes are now in the spaceship. Now, the spaceship's not up in the air. It's still on the ground near the cemetery. But they come in, and we're going to have our confrontation between our heroes and our, wherever they're from, aliens.
Yes, we never know where they're from. They're just from outer space.
But we do know a little bit about their culture, because in their culture, women are for breeding.
In my land, women are for advancing the race, not for fighting man's battle.
Oh, yeah, that's a sore point in this one, although it's nice to know advanced civilizations are as chauvinistic as we were back then, I guess.
And I don't know if it's controversial to say, but as fluid as some of the sexuality was amongst some of the people involved in this movie,
yes,
I was really surprised that happened. But, okay.
I really was, too. I mean, it's actually a pretty violent moment, because Eros... I mean, that's such a bad name, especially for the actor who's named Dudley Manlove, to be called Eros in that movie. That just is like, Ed, what were you thinking?
Well,
but whatever. Unfortunate name to give a character.
I'm not giving the movie a pass or anything like that, but some of these things that we're talking about is a product of the 50s.
Yeah.
When the movie is made.
True.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some of the behavior, but I mean, Eros really gets violent towards Tana. I think I got her name right. You know, I mean, he grabs her and throws her against the wall, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, so much for a united front against the humans, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, and she was making some good points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but anyway.
So they do have this confrontation. They finally explain what the heck they're doing there and why they're there.
Yes, and it's a very big day the earth stood still type vibe.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some influence there.
Oh, yeah. You know, we're just trying to keep you from destroying the universe.
I would
with
love...
unobtainium. Or ours.
Solaranite.
Solaranite.
Wrong movie.
Solaranite, yes. I would love to hear some of the conversations that Eros had when they were first contacting the humans. And trying to warn them. If he took the point of, you stupid minds, I can understand why they weren't paying any attention to it.
Well, it's the second time when they do have that one recording that the Colonel is played, you know, but you're still all stupid. You know, it's like, well, no wonder they're not listening to him. And I do love that line. You see? You're stupid minds. Stupid. Which is the perfect Ed Wood line to me.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. Because it's a bad line, but man, the actor goes for it. And he nailed that. He really did. I don't think we could have given it to anybody other than Bruce Campbell nowadays, and they would have done just as good a job. Just saying. Anthony Hopkins, you ain't going to nail it.
No. This 9 minutes of the movie, if I wasn't a co-host on this show, this is the 9 minutes I would have been a guest on. This is my favorite part of this movie because from when the first time I saw it, the whole way that he describes how Solaranite works is just amazing.
Yes, and then we get to the gasoline. It's like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense in its own way.
There's some really wonky science here. Can you see or measure an atom? Yeah, you can explode one. Well, actually
you can.
Yeah, you kind of can.
Yeah, there are ways of doing it, you know?
But is sunlight really made up of atoms?
No, it's made up of photons, isn't it?
I mean...
Yeah, but, hey, whatever. Okay, it's made of atoms, and if you can split an atom, you can split an atom in sunlight. And it's like a trail of gasoline, igniting the planet and then going to the sun and then spreading out, which, that makes the gas and, analogy kind of work. It's like, yeah, you'll burn up your own planet, but then you'll burn up all the sunlight coming from the sun. Oh. And when it hits the sun, everything blows up, and then it spreads out to all the planets that the sun touches.
To quote Eros, a chain reaction will occur direct to the sun itself and to all the planets that sunlight touches, to every planet in the universe. Okay, our sun isn't that bright. It's not going to hit every planet in the universe. And, okay, that's really my only point, actually. There's no two.
Well, if you could see the sun in your night sky at another planet, there's that possibility. There's going to be a little tendril coming down and then igniting your world.
But
yeah.
The universe is a big place.
Yes.
Well, the one thing that I've always had issue with isn't an explosion, you're transferring matter into energy really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't sunlight already energy?
Well, you're just making it more volatile energy.
But isn't that like the same as, okay, my plan is I'm going to freeze the Arctic?
Maybe that was plan 10.
Oh, there you go.
It's one of my... I shouldn't have said that. That was going to be one of my...
Oh, no!
Blowing up sunlight doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't. But at least, but here's the thing. Here's the genius about it. He tries to make it make sense with the whole gas can.
And he sells it amazingly well.
Oh, God, he does.
Dudley Manlove had a voice for radio. He did a lot of radio work. He was spokesperson for various companies, at least one, Lux Soap. He has the authority with what he says, and he brings it to this. Wow.
I can't think of anyone other than Bruce Campbell who could have delivered those lines that well.
Well, and even if it was Bruce Campbell, I can't imagine him doing it seriously. I mean,
I'm thinking more Bubba Hotep Bruce Campbell than Ash Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I can see the Bubba Hotep one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at Ash. I'm not looking at the beautifully overblown performance he gives with that. I'm thinking Bubba Hotep, where he's subtle but still, delivers some really good lines. And so that's what I'm looking at. He did radio. I guess he was in a few other movies as a kid or something, or on stage as a kid. So he's got some acting.
Yeah, I mean, he did some television
performance behind him. Yeah.
I mean, the story of a lot of the people involved in this movie is not great. But that said, I mean, they're forever immortalized by this film, whether they wanted to be or not. With this sequence here, your stupid minds, and then that's enough, and pushing Tana aside. That just, like, man, dude.
Yeah, and then they cut to the two cops, the unconscious one and the one coming up to, check on him. Mm-hmm. And they go off looking, and then they cut back to Eros, and he's just looking out this window and just musing about how one day it could all be gone in a puff of smoke and flame. Wow, that's actually not bad. That's good line reading.
I also like when he is confronted by the lieutenant and saying, we should go now. And he goes, where do you want to take us? The police station. He laughs, haha, you think you still are in charge.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this episode, and again, we haven't recorded Plan 9 in order, so who knows what's going to happen in some of the previous episodes we haven't recorded yet. I feel like we are laughing more during this segment of the film out of just pure enjoyment of the absurd reality of some of these lines.
Yeah.
And the dialogue and the motivations here. And we get a shot of Tor, and we get a shot of Vampira. And, I mean, we see the two cops. I mean, everything's here except for, like, Lugosi. You know, it's all there. It's
Pretty
great.
much. You know what I also like about this whole scene is, you know, you've got Jeff, the pilot, you got the military, you got the cops coming in, and Jeff is such a he's such an ass in this scene that he's making Eros's point for him.
He is. He very definitely is.
Here, let me show you where your wife is. And he shoots, you know, a whole bunch of delicate equipment that could have blown up in their faces. And it's like, well, I'll shoot you if I have to. And then, you know.
Stay away from that board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hey, I was just going to turn on the TV for you, you know. And then Eros says something and Jeff is like, well, I've had enough of this, and belts him one. And it's like, you realize they want to kill us because they're worried about us blowing up the universe, and you're just making their point for them. Whether Wood intended it or not, I'd like to think he intended it. That was a really good way to frame that scene, even though, you know, we're not supposed to be rooting for the aliens. They're kind of have a good point. And Jeff's right there to make sure that we know they have a good point.
I want to circle back a little bit to the point where Eros gets slapped that you just brought up by Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in some previous episodes, we talked about some minor changes that were made to the movie when it was colorized.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
Back to when we see Jeff in his wife's bedroom, there was a picture inserted into one of the frames. And then when we saw Lieutenant Clay originally get killed, there's a name on a tombstone that wasn't originally there. Those were done by Legend Films. They had eBay auctions where if you won them, you got to say what picture you wanted in there, what name you wanted on there. But a third thing they did, right when Eros gets slapped, his face turns green in the colorized version.
And I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
Why? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's the three major things that they did when they colorized it. So they're all kind of minor, but...
Yeah, but still, I mean, I can understand the eBay auction, you know, because you're getting money so you can do the colorization of it.
Yep.
But punching him and he turns green, that's almost something out of like a Naked Gun movie where Leslie Nielsen punches the Ayatollah and knocks his hat off and he's got a mohawk. That makes no sense.
Well, see, I love that we're criticizing the moments of this movie that make no sense at this point in the film. I mean, right down to Eros looking out the window, like Scott said. He's looking out the window and it's a daylight scene. Yet we cut to Tor Johnson carrying the woman, and it's the nighttime graveyard set. Day for night was not really a thing. You know, I want to circle back to Jeff shooting the board. I have the clip playing in the background here as we're recording, just kind of looping, just to kind of pick up things here and there. And when he shoots the board, Tana jumps, and it's either really good acting or she didn't expect it to be that loud.
That was a large explosion, really. I mean, seriously, somebody really loaded some major, you know, they really loaded the powder in wherever that bullet was supposed to go, because it's pretty impressive explosion so close to those actors.
I agree. I feel like that jump is just so like, and you know, the way she's reacting after the fact, it's not an acting moment, I feel like, because she's got the heavy breathing, like, oh my God, you know. So I wonder if Ed Wood even bothered to tell anybody it was going to be that bad.
I wonder if they even knew.
Yeah, that was my question was going to be. I wonder if Ed Wood even knew how much of an explosion it was going to be.
You know, this, oh yeah, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. No problem. Oh, gee, you nearly set the fire on the set, but okay, works.
Sure, whatever works.
Yeah.
Is anybody else as amused as I am by the general's hat being cocked to the side? It just looks so, I don't know. It just makes me smile.
I could see that.
Either that or the hat just didn't fit. They didn't have one in wardrobe that fit, so they had to cock it to the side and make it look like it was fitting. I don't know.
Maybe the explanation is when he was coming into the ship, he hit his head on a crossbeam and just never readjusted his hat.
Mm.
I don't know.
You're reading into the movie.
I know.
A lot more than...
A lot more than probably anybody should.
I'm also, like I said, I've got the video playing in the background here on a loop just over and over again as we're talking. And at one point, Tana does get to talk to the men without Man Love having a problem with it. But he's behind her, and the looks that he's giving her as she's pleading with them, if looks could kill, man. I know it's cliche to say it, but we are talking about Ed Wood. If looks could kill, the look that he's giving her, now granted, he does kind of check out her backside for a second, but man, he does not look happy.
Obviously, he does not like being upstaged.
No.
Not at all. It was probably like, hey, wait a sec. This is my scene. This is my big moment. What are you doing? The thing is, all the people in this scene, for the most part, were actually pretty talented. Gregory Wilcock, Jeff, the pilot, he did a lot of TV work. A lot. Speaking of Tana, Joanne Lee, I mean, she was an actress, but apparently, according to her IMDb page, she had an accident that made her change her career, and she became a television writer who won awards for her work. I mean, there was, I think, a Walton Christmas episode she wrote, and she won an Emmy for. The thing is, you think of the worst movie ever made, and you think of the actors in it, and you figure, oh, this is the only thing they ever did. Well, it's not really true. And some of these people went on to do a lot of work, and they had talent. Dudley Manlove, even though he's radio, if you want, I've got the same thing going. I've got the clip on a loop. And if you watch some of his posture, he's giving a performance that's kind of a surprise from a radio announcer. He's really invested in the character physically. When I heard he was a radio announcer, I'm like, wow, he made that transition real well. He got it. It's one of those unfortunate things that this has been considered the worst movie ever made by some, but it's really not. And the people behind it, some of them were really good at what they did or what they would go on to do later.
And that really extends to Ed Wood himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, this is the worst movie ever made. And if that was truly the case, I can't imagine anybody ever deciding to give Ed Wood another $1 to make another movie. But then again, you look at his career, he made movies the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He was convincing somebody to back him. That means somebody saw the talent in him.
And multiple somebodies were willing to work with him.
Yep.
If he really was this hack filmmaker, this terrible filmmaker that we talk about, he wouldn't have been able to surround himself with these people. They had more right to be better than they were.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are solid, competent performers. Cinematographer. We talked about in the section that we did with Ken Blows, the bit with Tor Johnson coming out of the grave, with the exception of like the one awkward shot where the tombstone falls over. That's a scary moment.
Yeah, when I'm not meaning to jump back, but You're right. I mean, the way that scene is lit when Tor Johnson's head starts coming up, that's really creepy. Surprisingly creepy. People would be surprised if they think this is the worst movie ever made and they see that one scene. It's like, wow, that's really effective. And you've got this whole dialogue thing. You've got basically, in the segment we're talking about, 9 minutes of dialogue. And yet it is so captivating to watch that you just kind of gloss over the wonky science behind it and just go, they're really doing this. They're going for it.
The wonky science, the had to be creative because we didn't have a budget set design. The windows that are clearly just pictures painted on the wall or taped to the wall.
If this movie was made today, you would have Arrows say, here, let me show you. And he'd sit down at a computer and bring something up on a screen that would be animated, computer animated, to show you how Solionite would work.
I really hope that animation includes a can of gasoline.
Oh, it would. But,
oh, God, yes.
But the way it's presented in this movie, you don't need that. You see it all in your mind because he's selling it so well.
Yeah, he's talking about the gasoline, and then he goes, and here's a ball of cotton or rags or whatever. That's the earth. And you can see him holding this imaginary ball in his hands as he's describing it. He's selling that moment.
Oh, he is.
He does such a good job. It's so enjoyable to watch him do all of that, the gas and, oh, wow. And the fact that he delivers that line.
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid.
And I can't even, I don't know how he did it. He's just nailed that line.
Yep.
And it's a bad line. But wow.
I can honestly see me going forward, if I don't have time to sit down and watch the whole movie and I just want to get a taste of it, this would be the 9-minute clip that I would want to watch again. Without watching the rest of it. If I was just, I'm waiting for 10 minutes for we're going to leave to go do something and I just want a quick taste of it, this is the 9 minutes that I would go to.
Is it Solanite or Solarnite? Because they say it both ways, don't they?
I think they do.
It's spelled with an extra A in the center of it. It's Solar-a-Night, I believe.
Well, Jeff says Solanite. I think Jeff gets it wrong.
Yeah,
but I guess we have to go through the alien says. I mean, he's the one that knows what it is.
Yeah.
What did you think of when the general says, so what if we get the Solarnite? That just makes us the most powerful nation on Earth.
No, it just makes us stronger.
Yeah. How American is that?
Yeah, wasn't that Jeff who said it?
Yeah, it was Jeff.
Was it Jeff?
It was
Jeff.
Jeff.
It was Jeff who said it.
And I guess it just assumed the military guy would say that. But yeah, I mean, how American is that, really?
Yeah.
How Cold War American is that?
Oh,
That's the key.
Definitely.
How Cold War American is that? Yes.
Ed Wood's script is playing off UFO conspiracy theories that, I don't know if they were quite as prevalent as they are now, but the idea that the government is hiding stuff from us, the aliens destroyed a town, and it's just like, well, we just said it was flooding, an earthquake, a hurricane. No. I mean, that's some really good stuff. And it goes back into this scene where it's like, yeah, we tried talking to you about this and you just don't listen. And this is why you don't listen. You think you can control all this stuff and you can't. That's, like you said, Cold War America believe. Once we get this, all our troubles will be over.
We win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, wait, we've got more troubles. Never mind.
Now, do you think that was intentional in this script?
I think so.
I do too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he really intended it. I mean, it's too obvious.
Is it too obvious because that was just what our culture was like then? And it was just kind of normal thinking? Or do you think there was like a point trying to be made here?
I think there's a point being made here because Ed Wood's watching other movies at this time. And that's a common trope in a lot of these movies with things that splitting the atom, the problems that it's causing. And I think he's trying to be in that vein as well.
Yeah, I think he seriously intended this to be a critique on how we look at the power that we've discovered with the atom bomb and the hydrogen bomb. I think he's saying, this has not made us safe. This has made our government hide things from us. This has made us less safe. And if we keep on this same track, we're going to kill ourselves. Yep. And I think that was very intentional on his part. Now, maybe if he could have written the dialogue a little differently, it would have been more prominent. But hey, it still comes across. And like I said, I mean, I'm sure there are people who are like, yeah, Jeff, punch that alien. He's dissing America.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
man.
But,
fight.
Yeah. But I think the people that Wood was aiming his message at were more like, oh, God, we are stupid. You just punched some guy because he insulted you. That's a great thing to do. Yeah, I think this scene would really show that he was trying to say something with this movie.
I've never really thought of Ed Wood as somebody who has deep messages in his films. He primarily wanted to tell stories, even though the movie Ed Wood kind of overplays how much he loved Orson Welles and looked up to Orson Welles. I mean, it was, I want to tell great stories like Orson Welles. And I've never really assigned that kind of importance to things like Plan 9 from Outer Space or fear of more atomic stuff with like Bride of the Monster, that sort of thing. So it's interesting to kind of consider it from that point of view as well. What is Plan 9 trying to tell us? What was Ed Wood trying to tell us through Plan 9? Is it really there? And I agree with you too as well. I think it's kind of intentional.
It's too blatant not to be intentional. I think he was trying to make that point, get that point across. Thankfully, he surrounded himself with a bunch of actors who could really pull it off. And
now, if the dialogue was a little bit more subtle, maybe it would have been a more successful film. But, I don't know if Ed Wood's strength was in his writing dialogue.
It feels a lot of times like he's writing dialogue for one of those men's magazines from the 50s, the ones with the cover that screams, "Weasels rip my flesh." You know, that's what some of his dialogue, especially his tough guy dialogue, you know, the cops and Jeff, that's what it always seems to sound like to me. It's like he's writing for those men's adventure magazines.
Well, Flesh Ripping Weasels was actually Plan 11.
Oh,
so
dang, they should have gone with that first, though. I think that might have worked. Yeah, I rewatched Bride of the Atom last month, and the fact that the heroic cop in that movie is running around towards the end with his shirt ripped kind of off and kind of on, like the pictures of one of those magazine covers, it's like, yeah, he's writing for that. That's what he's writing.
I can see some of that. I also get a very theatrical feel from some of this. And Ed Wood did do stage play productions, stage productions. And I feel like the way this particular scene is blocked in particular, where they position the characters and how the aliens step forward right after the humans all step forward, I feel like it's got a very theatrical feel to it. Again, if the dialogue was a little bit more subtle, wasn't so on the nose in some places, it might come across as a scene that would be interesting to do on stage. And I know Plan 9 has been adapted for the stage before, but it just feels like it has a very theatrical, maybe student theater kind of vibe.
Community theater, maybe.
There we go. There you go.
To expand on that, the way Eros is explaining stuff, he's almost doing that, you know, projecting to make sure the back of the audience can hear it as well.
Oh, yeah, he's monologuing.
Oh, yeah.
His movements, his mannerism when he's talking about the gas can and the cotton ball, it's obvious he's trying to get it out there. So, yeah.
And it's obvious he truly believes what he's saying.
Well, I don't know if the actor actually believed it, but he certainly made his character believe it.
Right. We believe that he believes what he's saying.
We believe that he believes that somebody believes that I believe. Do you believe too? That's the question.
I want to believe.
Oh, there you go.
There.
Has anybody made the I Want to Believe X-Files poster with the Plan 9 flying saucer?
If
oh
not,
my God, they should.
Maybe we should do that and sell it as merch, you know?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as I heard that exchange while doing the editing of this episode, I thought, you know what? I've got to make it happen. Pulled up Photoshop, and about half an hour later, we've got a t-shirt design. Head over to tinyurl.com/plan9believe. That's plan and then the number 9 believe. And you can pick up your very own I Want to Believe in Plan 9 t-shirt. I believe there are stickers and magnets and everything else there too. I'll make sure there's a link to this in the show notes.
Well, considering that in the TV show, The X-Files, apparently Fox Mulders watched Plan 9 from Outer Space like 47 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of those little trivia things they have, I think, in Wikipedia. I don't know how they figure out he watched it 47 times, but there's a scene where Scully comes to his place and he's watching Plan 9. And they say, according to the DVD cover, he's watched it 47 times. I don't know if it's like a library DVD VHS tape. I don't know if it's like a library one that he's checked out. You see the library, Mulder. I don't know.
I find it interesting that Plan 9 does get incorporated into various films and TV shows. For being the worst film ever made, it sure does get a lot of play in the pop culture.
That may be one of the blessings of being considered the worst movie ever made. It's fine. It's perfectly good. And that's how the pop culture buzz started building on it.
There's the poll quote from The Shadow over Portland, Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's fine. It's perfectly good.
I'm sure that's how the pop culture buzz started going with it. It's kind of like what happened with Monos. Once MST3K got a hold of it, it just suddenly started snowballing and became kind of a pop culture phenomenon. I think that's probably what happened with Plan 9.
It makes me wonder if there's any other films out there in the Plan 9 Monos vein that just hasn't been discovered, that would just explode into pop culture if somebody gave it a push.
Yeah.
We talk about these lost films that we want to see, things like London After Midnight. Boy, that would be amazing to see, right? But it's a lost film. I wonder if there are any of these films, and probably from the 50s or 60s, just because I imagine those low-budget movies do get lost pretty easily.
Yeah.
If there's anything out there like that, man, that'd be phenomenal to find out.
It would be really interesting. It'd be a lot of fun to see if that's the case, to see if, there's something else out there that just clicks with pop culture. I don't know how well it would work nowadays, though, because, it just comes out on the internet and you see it. And there's no buzz or hype or anything from it. When the Golden Turkey book, was it the Golden Turkeys Awards that named Plan 9?
Yeah, the book, The Golden Turkeys, yeah.
Someone buys that book and they read, oh, this is the worst movie ever made. There's a certain anticipation. There's a certain buildup. And then you go looking for it. You can't find it. And then all of a sudden, one day you walk into Blockbuster and there it is on the rental shelf. So there's that anticipation of actually getting to see the worst movie ever made.
So when that book came out, it came out in 1980, and it named Plan 9. And then I would guess it's probably, would it be late 80s, early 90s when MST3K did Manos, The Hands of Fate?
Might have been late 80s. I'm not sure.
So we're more than overdue for another one. So what would be the next distribution method for that? So we had a book, then we have TV show. What would be the next distribution? Would it have to be something on the internet, I would assume?
That's what I'd assume. But like I said, with that, you wouldn't have the anticipation or the buildup. It wouldn't be as intense, I guess. Someone could get this film and then start promoting it on the internet, but it's not like there would be a buildup that, I want to see this, but it's really hard to find. It's really hard to see,
Yeah, the distribution method is very different.
To answer your question, Manos, The Hands of Fate episode aired on January 30th, 1993.
Okay. So, yeah, we're definitely overdue for something. If there's a cycle here.
Yeah, I would like to find something like that, but I just don't think the method to build up hype would be quite as effective as it was with Manos or with Plan 9. I think part of it is the inability to find it right away made it desirable. And it's just fortunate for us that Plan 9 is as good as it is. This is a good movie. This is fun. Why are they saying it's so bad?
Well, I mean, I definitely had fun watching the movie and really kind of deep diving into something like this. I know that there were some concerns when Scott and I first started talking about doing this. Can a movie like Plan 9 hold up to the movies by minute formula or format of podcasts? I mean, I'd say it definitely does because it forces us to look at this scene in particular, which Scott called it the penultimate scene. And it is in more ways than one. It's not just because it's the second to last. I mean, there's a lot of information dropped here, a lot of really sincere performances happening here. It's the best taste of Plan 9 you're going to get because it tastes so good.
I agree. It's the moment where you realize that, wow, he's got this. It's a large chunk of dialogue. It's almost 9 minutes of dialogue. You're still captivated by it. It's not like you're bored going, oh, God, really? What the heck? It's so entertaining. It's so well done that you're watching it going, gas can, cotton ball, okay.
I knew as soon as I hit play, this was a 9-minute section. I knew it because of what we're doing. It still didn't seem like it was 9 minutes. It just flew by because I was just so into it, and I didn't want it to end.
Right.
Yeah. This is why this is not a bad movie. This moment is why it's not the worst movie ever made. It's actually really good, really well thought out. And sure, it's hampered by the budget, but how many movies do we enjoy that are hampered by a budget? And they're still good nonetheless. They still deliver. They still are fun to watch. You can watch them every year, every couple of months if you want, and you still get a sense of happiness from it.
And on the flip side of that, how many movies have basically all the money they need to make a movie and it still turns out like a piece of junk?
Yeah.
Yeah, frequently. Oh, man. So, yeah. What can you say about this segment other than you've got to watch it and you've got to look at it and you've got to listen, you've got to enjoy the performances because they're solid.
Yeah, even though it doesn't have my beloved Bela.
But they did mention his skeletal remains.
Yes, that is true.
That's true. When the cops do show up, when we cut back to the cops, I do get a little bummed because I really just want to hang out with Man Love in the flying saucer. Wow, take that sentence out of anyway. But I do want to hang out with them more. Like, oh, come on, shut up, cops. I don't care about you anymore. I mean, I know they're cool. They're part of the Ed Wood universe, fine. But I just want to spend more time in that set with the deliveries of dialogue. I want to learn more about Solar Night, man.
Oh, yeah.
But, it is only 9 minutes of a film that we're talking about here, and we can talk more about the cops in another segment.
Well, you probably will in Plan 9, Part 9.
Bring us home, guys. What are your final thoughts here before we wrap this up? Chris.
I just am constantly amazed. I watch this, and I'm just always amazed at how good it is. Maybe Ed Wood really wasn't good with dialogue, as you said, but the story moves forward at a pretty good clip. You can say, oh, well, he's padded it with Bela Lugosi footage in the front. Well, no, he was making sure Bela Lugosi starred in his movie. The movie moves at a really good clip, and even when it stops to give you this practically 9 minute monologue from Eros, it doesn't stop. It's still entertaining. It still keeps moving forward. It still captivates you. So if you haven't seen this movie, and I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't, check it out.
If you made it this far without seeing the movie, why are you still listening to this podcast? Go watch it and come back.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, if I was going to be picking a section that I would want to do on this show, if I wasn't already doing all of them, this is the one that I'd want to do. This is the scene when I saw it for the first time after seeking it out, after reading that Golden Turkeys book, that made me just have a whole new appreciation for this film. I love the whole description of how solanite works. The way that it's presented is, while I know, thinking about it logically and scientifically, that it doesn't make any sense, but that doesn't matter. I go back into movie science. This is movie science. I'm going to go with it, and I love it. So I don't know what else I can say about the scene. It is my favorite part of the entire movie. There's this and Criswell's opening statements that, to me, are the best parts of the movie.
I'm going to agree with both of what you two just said. This is where the movie is showing off its merit. It is the sequence that I think does speak to the fact that Ed Wood was a good filmmaker. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to believe. Well, Chris, I appreciate you joining us for this episode of Plan 9 by 9.
I was really thrilled to be invited. I really was.
The Shadow Over Portland is at the shadowOverPortland.blogspot.com. Go check it out. Even if you're not in the Pacific Northwest area, you should.
I was going to say that. His writing on those and his comments and things that he adds on it, it's worth, even if you're not in the Portland area, even if you know you can't go to any of these things. I read it all the time, so I can't recommend it enough.
Thank you.
Fun. Chris brings a level of playful snark when appropriate, and it's fun. And on top of that, it's not always talking about events in the Portland area. Every once in a while, he sneaks in a review or something else. So check that out. Also, it is fitting that Chris mentioned Manos: The Hands of Fate first during this episode, because Chris is co-producing an upcoming audio drama based on the film Manos: The Hands of Fate. So stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
He has written the script, and I'm co-producing it with him. So, listeners, if you like Manos, you're going to love this when it's done.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I got something to do with that. Still need to do something about that.
Well,
I haven't done anything yet, and I apologize.
Well, we kind of had holdbacks ourselves, so please don't apologize. In real life,
what are we talking about? Oh, Scott doing a line of dialogue.
Couple of lines. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should we say that?
Sure.
Okay. And if you like listening to Scott, he's going to be in it.
And Tracy.
And my wife.
Yep. Well, stay tuned to the Shadow Over Portland for information about the Manos project. That'll be coming soon. And we'll talk to everybody again for the final episode of Plan 9 by 9 when we talk about the final, 7 minutes?
Yeah, I believe it's not quite 9 minutes, but and I don't know how much we'll talk about the actual credits.
Can I ask who's going to be with you on the last segment?
You can ask.
Are you going to say?